What's happening, YouTube? This is Paul Friedman from Maymount Media, and today I'm going to be running you through my top 5 tips to make you a better wedding photographer. Let's jump in. All right, YouTube. Welcome back. This is Paul Friedman. Right behind the camera, I got Spencer Mendel, and between the two of us, we make Maymount Media. We're a photo video company based here in the Mid-Coast region of Maine. And today, we're going to be talking about wedding photography. It's the first week of the month, which means that it's a wedding photography video. If you want to see more from us, we'll be doing different style videos each week throughout each month. And so check back in first week of every month for more wedding stuff. But today we're going to be specifically talking about our top 5 tips to make you a better wedding photographer. And so let's jump in. Tip number 1, this is easily the most important tip that we can give. We really think this matters a lot and is going to make a big difference to your wedding photography. If you already do this, it can't hurt to hear it again. And if you don't do it, start now. Build a relationship with your clients. Number 1, build a relationship with your clients. Just do it. Just definitely go out of your way and spend some time with your clients, get to know them, make sure they know you, and make sure they're comfortable with you and your way of photography. If at all possible, we always do an engagement session with our clients, and it's specifically for this reason. If you show up and start sticking a camera in someone's face for the first time ever, the results aren't going to be as good as if you've practiced with them and done some photography with them and showed them the results as well. I mean, if they are just standing in front of your camera for the first time on the wedding day, not only do they not know, some of the language you're going to be using or some of the expectations that you have of them, they're going to feel uncomfortable with you. They don't really know you. You're going to get a lot of the what do I do with my hands moments. But if you get all that out of the way and you shake off the nerves at an engagement session, between you and them, you're both gonna feel more comfortable and you're gonna know sort of how to create the best results you possibly can. Building a relationship with your client is so important. And it's gonna show up especially in their smiles and in their laughs and in those candid moments. It's people's nature to sort of use their body language to sort of address people that they know and like and are comfortable with. And if Uncle Joey over here has a camera and you're over here and you have a camera and something funny happens, chances are pretty good they're gonna open up to Uncle Joey because he's inside on the joke. He's known them their whole lives, or at least one of the two their whole life, and they're gonna get that sort of connection with him and subsequently his photographs. But if you've taken some time to go out of your way to get to know them a little bit and they've seen the results from your engagement session, or just, even if they've only seen the stuff on your website, but they've got to know you because you took time to meet them, they're gonna open up to you a little bit more. Or when you tell them, hey, I need you to get a smile, instead of getting this smile, they're gonna give you one of those ha-ha smiles. Yes, yeah, all right, good photos, we're ready for the photos. We just got married, ha-ha. That's the kind of stuff you're looking for. And if you are comfortable with them and they're comfortable with you and you've spent time with them, you've gone out of your way to go meet them somewhere and grab a beer or pack a picnic and go for a hike, that's gonna go a long way on the wedding day. You don't have to be friends with them. You don't have to be best friends with them. You don't have to spend weeks and weeks with them, but just any sort of rapport that you can build with them is gonna go a long way. So that's tip number 1. It's most important, and I'm gonna come back to it again probably at least once throughout the rest of this list, but let's go to number 2. Number 2 on the list is know your gear, know your equipment. Don't show up to a wedding with the first camera you've ever bought, pull it out of the plastic and think, I know what a good smile looks like, or I've been to a wedding before, so I know what to shoot. That's crazy talk. Of course you don't know, because most importantly, you don't know how to use the equipment that you've just been handed. Know your gear. It's really important. If you don't know the equipment that you're using, it's really just not gonna go as smoothly on the wedding day as it could. And more importantly, when those snap things happen, those really fast moments, or all of a sudden a door opens, or the sun comes out from behind the clouds, or somebody walks out from underneath a bridge and now they're standing in direct sunlight, you're gonna blow out a photo, or you're gonna miss the moment because you're fiddling with your camera trying to get those settings right. I don't care what camera you use. You can use an old film SLR camera, you can use a Canon T3i or a Nikon D5500 or a Sony A9 Mark II. I don't care what you shoot with. Know how to use it. It doesn't matter, you can get an 8 megapixel photo that's better than a 60 megapixel photo if it's properly exposed. I mean, you blow out an image, doesn't matter what you shot it with, it's over. It's just a white frame and it's gone. So just know how to use your camera, learn it, live with it, sleep with it, shower with it, do whatever you have to do, but just always be ready for the moments. And the best way to be ready is to know how to use your equipment. Practice is definitely gonna get you better and better and better. But if you're practicing with a Canon and then somebody hands you a Nikon and you go to try and shoot a wedding with it, it's just not gonna work. I'm not saying one camera is better than the other. The best camera is the one that you know how to use. So always be familiar with your equipment. We've fallen victim to this in the past. We get a new lens, we're really excited to go shoot with it, and we don't have time to test it, we just brought it with us. Luckily, it was an engagement session, so we could fix our mistakes. Luckily, they were our friends, so they were understanding, and we were new to the game, and we were upfront with them. Back to tip number 1, we built a rapport with them. We let them know this is not something we've done a lot in the past, but we got a brand new portrait prime lens, and we were excited to shoot at f1.4, and half of our images are out of focus. It was an equipment error. It wasn't necessarily something we were doing wrong, but if we had practiced with that lens more, we would have known that there were some focusing issues and we could have double checked our work or focused manually or just not brought that new lens because it turned out to be junk and it ended up broken on a cement floor at one point. So just don't show up with new gear. Don't show up without practice. Know your gear. That's number 2, super important. Number 3, know and recognize and be able to create good light. Good light is so important. It is paramount to what we do. We are photographers. Photography, photography, light and writing. We are writing with light. That's our medium. That's everything. Without light, we don't have images. I don't have to explain to you probably because you're here, so you know how to use a camera and you know how it works. But generally speaking, light comes into the lens, hits the sensor, and then that's the reproduction of the 3D real world that we exist in. And without the light coming into the sensor, sort of bouncing off your subjects and then hitting the sensor, you don't have an image. And there is good light and there is bad light. And the difference between those two things is dramatic. It's really dramatic. And the only way to fix bad light and make it into good light is you. You have to do those things. And if you don't know what good light is, how to create it, how to recognize it, you can be the kind of person who shoots natural light. That's fine. I love natural light. We all love natural light. Was there a better light source than the sun, for crying out loud? No, of course there isn't. But high noon, sun's up here, shooting straight down on the top of their faces. That's not as flattering as, golden hour, soft light coming through lots of atmosphere, coming across their face and hitting them in a much more flattering way. That's a huge difference. So you can shoot indirect sunlight, but you have to know how to use it. Angle, direction, size of your light source. If you're trying to create a light source and you have a tiny little flash all the way across the dance floor, it better be at a good angle because it's gonna hit them really hard and cast some really dark shadows on their faces. You need to know how to do these things. And so I don't care if you shoot natural, I don't care if you shoot with flash exclusively, you should know what good light is. And once you understand and know light, shooting with a flash won't be so intimidating. Or maybe you don't have to pack as heavy because now you don't have to bring flashes because you know how to shape sunlight or whatever it might be. Know, recognize, learn good light. That's tip number 3, very important. Good light, it's what we do. Number 4, process your images. Always process your images. This is number 4 and I think it's not as important as the first 3 things, but number 4 is process your images, and it's important to me. It's important to you. We have to have processed images. We're wedding photographers, right? So we don't have the opportunity to redo a situation, or we don't have the opportunity to do 10 test shots of the first kiss. We need to be ready for those moments, and more importantly, we need to shoot in a way that allows us to, be flexible when we get home. And on top of all of that, you need a little bit of cohesiveness through the wedding day. From the first photo you take to the very bottom last dance floor image shot, when they look at these photos, when you deliver these images, you want them to know all of these photos were taken by you or your team or your company or whatever it might be. So, if you're shooting with 2 people, which we do exclusively, Spencer and myself, we always shoot weddings together. Every wedding we've ever shot, bar a few friends' weddings on the side, we always shoot together. And I like to think we're very proud of the fact that when we deliver our photos, the bride and groom probably won't be able to tell which photos he took versus which photos I took. And that's by design. That's because our computers are directly next to each other. And when we edit, we sit down at a wedding and we're ready to go. First thing we do is we say, hey man, what's the look gonna be for this wedding? And generally speaking, when you go onto our website and you look at our portfolio, there's as a general cohesiveness through the whole thing. Of course, we don't just like one-click preset, done, don't touch it because Paul said it needs to be cohesive. That's not what I'm saying. You can edit from different photos. Different people have different skin tones, different lighting scenarios sort of matter. And you know, and again, knowing your client because you took time to build a relationship with them, maybe they have a preferred style that you should be matching. And when you sit down to edit your photos, make sure you make a plan, make sure that you take it seriously, and make sure you stick to the plan, because you're gonna want those photos to be processed, to look good, to match your client's expectations. That's really important. And editing your images is important like that. You have to be shooting raw, in my opinion, to be able to fully process your images to their complete potential. But I know there's a lot of people out there that like to shoot JPEG, and that's cool, but weddings happen fast, and you will mess up at least one photo. And if it happens to be a really important photo, you're gonna want that raw shot to have that full latitude in post-processing to, if it's underexposed by 3 stops or it's overexposed by 3 stops, you're gonna wanna be able to pull it back together and get that photo right without just missing the moment. And I think that if you shoot raw, you have more of an opportunity to do that. Now, if you're the kind of person who's like, Paul, forget it, I'm shooting JPEG, leave me alone. Most wedding photographers these days have the opportunity to shoot 2 different SD cards. So maybe you shoot JPEGs to one card and RAWs to the other card. And when you get home, you only import the JPEGs because you love shooting JPEGs and that's the look you're going for. But then maybe you missed one shot and now you have that raw backup on the other SD card and you can go ahead and you can grab that, you can salvage that image, because moments really, really matter. You can't go back and redo the first kiss. You can't go back and redo dad walking her down the aisle. These things matter and you have to get them right. Modern cameras afford you a lot of freedom and leeway, and so you can kind of mess up, so to speak. You know, you can be flexible. You can shoot for the final image if you're shooting with raw images, and then you can process and make sure you do process. Make sure that you give yourself a cohesive look and that you're nailing all your white balances, your exposure, getting that color and contrast light and correct, and it'll show. Your clients will be happier and you'll be happier. You'll be more proud to put your name on those images because you took the time to get it right, both before and after the image happened. So that's tip number 4. It is process your images. And tip number 5 is present yourself professionally. This is, it should go without saying, I think, at least. I think it should be pretty obvious. Like, you show up to a wedding, you should be dressed for the wedding. You should act accordingly. You shouldn't be swearing and cussing people out and starting fights and, drinking free drinks at the bar. And, you obviously, like, some of those things are pretty dramatic, but we've seen some of that stuff in the past as guests, as bartenders. Spencer's been in the industry his whole life. His family owns a venue and a catering company, and he's seen both vendors and clients interacting with vendors go really poorly. And it's important that you don't fall victim to the excitement of the day. And, if all the groomsmen are out cussing and drinking whiskey, you're doing a job. You have a job to do. You can't go join them. And, even if you're friends with them, you still have a job to do. And you have 180 or 250 other witnesses hanging out with you. And so, you're not just presenting yourself to the bride and groom, you're presenting yourself to their families, to their friends, to the people who don't even know if you're friends with the bride and groom yet. So just act accordingly, be super duper professional. And if you want those, those weddings in the future, everybody who sees you on the wedding day and is impressed by you might hire you for the next wedding or the next wedding or the next wedding. I say dress accordingly. Generally speaking, I wouldn't even wear this to a wedding. I would be in a blue Oxford shirt, buttoned all the way up. I've got my nice pressed khakis and a pair of dress shoes on. But, circling back to number 1, know your clients, build a rapport. Maybe you're going off and doing a destination wedding in the Bahamas and they're all gonna be wearing shorts and flip-flops. That's fine. You could wear shorts and flip-flops. But if you're at a wedding venue at, a hotel in Boston, you probably can't wear shorts and flip-flops. I don't care if it's August. I don't care if it's 95 degrees. Dress accordingly. Sure, okay, you wear the blue Oxford shirt, but then you roll up your sleeves. That's acceptable, sure, that's fine. But if everybody at the wedding is wearing long pants and a suit jacket and you show up with shorts and flip-flops, that's not professional. That looks bad. Spencer and I have shot some backwoods weddings up here in Maine with people showing up in their, cargo khaki shorts and their, old roughed up work boots and a, torn up cap on. And that's cool. Let them do that. You know, they know the bride and groom, and the bride and groom know them. And also, they aren't paid to be there. You are. So, you know, dress accordingly, act accordingly, watch what you say, smile at people, be friendly. And not only will it make you, you know, a more successful wedding photographer on the day of, it's also going to get you more work in the future. And it's not just about work. It's about just like making people happy. You know, these people trusted you with their big day. Live up to their expectations or exceed their expectations. Can't hurt to dress accordingly. So that's my 5th tip. I told you guys I was gonna do a top 5 tips, just one little bonus tip. It's not really number 6 because it's kind of a minor thing, but one little thing that works for us. It might not work for you, so that's fine. You don't have to do this, but just, you know, little friendly bonus round tip. Cull your images soon after the wedding. This works really well for us, because when I shoot a photo and it's a really good photo, whether it's portfolio worthy or not, I remember it. You know, when I shoot my images, I remember what I shot. I have a fairly good memory. But by the Friday after the wedding or the next Wednesday after the wedding, I don't necessarily remember everything that I shot, especially if I've done work in between there. So if I come home from a wedding and I get home at 10, I'll import and pluck out my favorites right away. Or wake up Sunday morning and get excited immediately, plug that card in and start culling through and just pluck out all your favorites right away so that you know you don't forget them. If you wait a week and a half to start culling through your images, you kind of have to go through them like you've never seen them before. You got to inspect each and every photo. And if you're anything like me, you'd rather shoot more and not miss the moment. So you might come home with 2,000 to 5,000 images, and if you have to individually inspect each one, that's gonna take a lot longer than if you come home with 3,000 images and you're like, all right, bang, 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 bang. I like all these ones. Okay, I remember I missed focus on these 4, but the 5th one's perfect. You know, you'll remember those things if it's fresh in your mind. So that's just kind of a bonus round tip. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. Your workflow is probably different than mine, but just a piece of advice from one fellow photographer to another. So those are my tips. I'm just gonna recap them really quick. Number 1, if you don't remember this one by now, listen closely, build a relationship and a rapport with your clients. It's very important. It'll make your images better. It'll make your experience better. Everybody's gonna like you more. Super important. Number 2, know your gear. Don't care what you shoot with, know how to use it, get it right, live with it, know your gear, just overall be familiar with your stuff and be able to change the settings and, you know, just not miss moments because the equipment is super familiar to you. That's important. That's number 2. Number 3 is knowing and recognizing good light. It's everything we do. Light is so important. It is paramount to the success of you as a photographer. Without light, you can't make photographs, and there is a difference between good light and bad light. Know the difference, learn it. That's important. Processing your images is number 4. Tip number 4 is very important, and I think too often overlooked. Maybe not so much in wedding photography, but certainly with early photographers, it's easy to think like, oh, okay, camera does the work. Well, it does some of the work, but you need to process your images. Editing is at least, if not more than 50% of how to make an image. So process your images. And number 5 is present yourself professionally. Again, I kind of hope that one goes without saying, but I have seen time and time again, it does not go without saying. So if you want to be a successful wedding photographer, present yourself in a professional manner. That means dressing accordingly. That means speaking accordingly. It means when people make crazy requests, you don't laugh in their face. You just have to be polite, you know, meet or exceed their expectations. You can't, it's really, really hard to overdress for a wedding as a wedding photographer. So those are my top 5 tips. I hope you find them helpful. Down in the comments below, I wanna hear from you guys. If any of these tips are way off base and you think they're stupid, let me know. If there's anything down there that you haven't heard before and you're like, wow, that's really helpful, let me know. I wanna know what helped you guys out. And if there's anything that you think should have made my top 5 list and didn't, leave it in the comments below. Maybe it'll help me, maybe it'll help someone else who's reading the comments. That would be fantastic. Either way, engage with us, let us know your thoughts. If you liked this video, give it a big old thumbs up. That's really helpful for us, and it makes sure we know to make more stuff like this. If you like the channel and you want to see more content from us, click that subscribe button. There's one of these sides, I don't know, it's down there somewhere. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave us a comment. We really appreciate you stopping by, and till next time, have a great day.